Jeremy Sohan has been getting a little bit more run of late. What does this mean? Anything for his future in San Antonio? And let's talk about Keldon Johnson's Sixth Man of the Year award chase.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome back to Locked On Spurs, right here, the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Intensifies San Antonio. Glad to have y'all back. Hope you're having a great day. And again, TGIF. As always, thank y'all for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Free and available wherever you get a podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Intensify Plus app, YouTube. You know what to do. Go subscribe ASAP and be part of the Everydayer Club. More on that later, as well as being part of the #1 sports podcast network across this land, the Locked On Sports Podcast Network. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Before tip-off, check out the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. What are we talking about today? Spotlight Jeremy Sohan. Hey, he's been getting a lot of more run of late, and being effective. Mitch Johnson even said, hey, he's doing a lot of things that don't show up in the box score. We're going to be talking about his recent play. Why is he playing recently? Is he still trade fodder? Could he still be dealt to San Antonio? From San Antonio, excuse me. We're going to be talking about that and then putting the spotlight as well with Keldon Johnson, his Sixth Man of the Year award chase. And he has a strong argument for it. We're going to see if he can join the likes of Manu Ginobili, who won it a few years ago. Feels like many moons ago, but we'll talk about that and more. Let's bring in our guest to close out this week on Locked On Spurs. He's back, everybody. AP Sports writer very own, Raul Dominguez. Follow him on X at Dominguez5. Raul, you are our Sixth Man of the Year winner here on Spurs.
The 15th guy off the bench, baby. So
the 15th guy off the bench, right? Yeah, again, everybody, follow him on X at Dominguez5. Do that right now, and let's get into it here, Raul. It's been a shift of late. Jeremy Sohan, who's racked up a lot of coaches' DNP throughout the season, is now starting to see a little bit more regularity in the rotation. As I mentioned in the intro, Raul, Mitch Johnson saying that, don't look at the box score, don't look at the final score. What Sohan does is beyond that, and he says he's been a positive impact for this team since he's been playing a little bit more of late. Well, big question here: why is he playing more?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. Is it I figured it was maybe kind of a more of a rotation, or just kind of feel for the game. The media has asked Mitch about Jeremy, and he just says, Mitch has said, well, it's just kind of rotations or, matchups and things like that. He's never said specifically why he wasn't playing, but he always talks about what a professional Jeremy is. And, well, he's been on the bench, how he's, still been engaged, still been cheering. And I think anyone who's seen Jeremy on the bench, I haven't seen any sort of bad body language. He's cheering everybody. He's getting excited about plays. He's active in the huddles, as far as, he's not like sometimes when a player, you see a player in the past, with other NBA teams, you'll see a player that is happy and, walks away from the huddle or, doesn't want to be involved. That hasn't been Jeremy. So I'm not sure why he hasn't been playing, but he's been, got opportunity these last two games, and he's been his usual Jeremy self.
Yeah, he is. That's Vanderbilt for the Lakers about that. But I look at Sohan, and my reaction when I started noticing him getting a little more uptick is I kind of paralleled it with the fact that, and through their own admission, from Keldon Johnson to Julian Champagnie, that they've been playing like bleep of late. That they have not been playing great. So I started thinking, okay, well, what does Mitch Johnson say about it? What does he say? Energy, effort, focus, stuff like that. Well, they need a little pep. They need a little pick-me-up. Why not go with the guy who's all about that energy on the court? And that is Sohan. Sohan will dive on the court. He will get in a player's face. He will do the little things, whether it be tipping out rebounds, something. Every little thing that he does provides a little bit of spark. And I think that's one of the reasons why he's now seeing a little bit of an increase in time on the court, is because they need something or someone in this case to shake them out of their funk. Jeremy Sohan can do that. He's feisty. He's fiery. I think they need a little bit of that, and I can see why Mitch Johnson maybe is starting to throw him out on the court. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean those are great points. With Devin missing, and Devin, I guess, is a guy that people maybe don't think is an energy guy, but he is. When he's on the court, I mean, he's very active. He obviously loves the Spurs. Has great energy on the court. So, Jeremy and Devin are actually obviously two different players and two different playing styles, but they both sort of bring kind of similar energy. Like I said, Devin's not as demonstrative as Jeremy is, but he does bring, sort of that energy, that action out there. That could definitely be a while. Like I said, they've been kind of struggling and the last few games, and it's I know Mitch has been saying it's kind of an effort or energy thing, and sometimes during the season he talked about the other day, there's sort of these lulls during the season. I think Victor talked about it as well. Sometimes you need someone or something out of it, and it seems like Jeremy's doing that.
Oh yeah, he's definitely doing that, and you can see sometimes the momentum shift when Sohan has been out there. I believe it was what was that game, Sohan, where they just threw Sohan out there, and it was Jordan McLaughlin, and those two guys like shifted the whole energy of the game.
Against Memphis, yeah.
It was Memphis, right? Thank you. Yeah, and Jeremy was a part of that. Obviously the defensive rating goes up. The little time that he's on the court, and again, just that effort too. And also, I think you nailed it on the head too. They just see bodies right now. You got Wemby coming off the bench, limited minutes. All right, well, those are some minutes freed up for Mitch to play with. Why not throw it to Sohan? You mentioned Vassell, he's out for a while. Again, more minutes for him. And one thing I like about this is Sohan is taking advantage of it. We joked about this on the Locked On Spurs squad show / roundtable with myself, KCVR, and Devin Brown. Devin was very critical about Sohan in the sense of, hey, he's not playing. He goes, if that was me as a former player on that Spurs roster, he goes, I would have become the newest version of Patty Mills. I would have been waving that towel, standing up the whole game, doing everything on that bench to show that I'm still invested. He goes, after the games, I'm in that locker room. I'm the last guy out. And Sohan during games has been doing that. So he's been taking advantage of the fact that, one, maybe he hadn't been playing, but he's still interested. He's still invested. And then two, he's making an impact. And when you get the coaches noticing, like Mitch, Sohan did a lot of good stuff out there. That's a good check mark on him moving forward. But Raul, do you think things will shift for Jeremy back to where it was once that minute restriction is lifted from Wemby and when Vassell comes back? Because then there goes those opportunities for him.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It seems like Mitch is kind of starting to expand his rotations a little bit more. I think early in the season, it seemed like it was maybe 8 guys that were having 30 minutes. So it looks like he's starting to expand the rotation, which is understandable. The season's starting to go along. They played a lot of games in a row, played some back-to-back. So, it's understandable that he's going to start expanding his rotation a little bit. So, that could play a factor into it. I'm trying to think. I don't think Kelly Olynyk is having as much of a run as he was for a while. So I think maybe Jeremy has some of those minutes. But it's a long season. You don't know what's going to happen, but it's a long season. So, Jeremy's minutes may stay the same. They may go up. Depending on injuries, depending on matchups. But I just know that Jeremy's going to play with that same kind of energy, whether he's in there a minute or 20 minutes. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's bringing that feistiness to the court. Again, aside from the Vanderbilt post-game interaction they had, where Sohan said after the game that they had a polite conversation afterwards. He literally said that Vanderbilt told him to go meet him in the locker room. And Jeremy said, I did. So I wonder how that works. There's tension, right? You would think the Lakers staff and the Spurs staff would be like, guys, y'all separate. Don't go over there. Well, you would think they would stop him, but no. According to Sohan, he went over there and had that polite conversation with Vanderbilt. Ro, let's take a break. When we get back, look at some numbers, look at some stats that Sohan's been doing of late. They're pretty positive. And then ask the big question. Is his future in San Antonio still in doubt? How about that? Coming up next right here on Locked On Spurs with that man on your screen. He is Raul Dominguez of the AP Sports.
Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night before the game tips off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. Fridays from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern have become appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour. Opening the FanDuel app during Happy Hour always brings up the new boosts, bonuses, and surprises. The timing is perfect, right before games, right before the weekend starts. It adds extra energy to Friday with basketball without even overthinking it. So before tip-off, check out the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. A little basketball, a little action, a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only at FanDuel, the official sports book partner of the NBA. Thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out our new Everydayer Club. Access to ad-free audio feed for Locked On Spurs, compatible with Apple's Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. An invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat for just listeners of this show and, well, hanging out with a lot of other fans on Discord. You want to go to this website right now, lockedonpodcast.com/everydayerclub. Go there right now, or just tap the link in the show notes to learn more.
We're back right here on Locked On Spurs, joined by Raul Dominguez of the AP Sports. He is on X at Dominguez Eagle. Follow him right now. We're talking about Jeremy Sohan. He's been getting a little increase in minutes of late. What does this mean? Is this a good thing? Obviously, it's a good thing. He's getting minutes, right? But what about his long-term future? And Raul, the trade deadline is fast approaching. There's a name that's been floated out there, has been Sohan involved in deals. And I get why, because prior to the recent games, he had just been stapled to the bench. Coach's decisions did not play. Look, when you get out there, it was like garbage time or just minimal minutes, and he's pulled out quickly. Let's talk about that before we get into some numbers here. Do you think his future is secure in San Antonio, or is still in doubt with a trade deadline ahead?
Man, that's kind of tough to say. Sorry about that. Allergies. And in the offseason, he didn't sign the extension, off his contract. So he's going to be I believe a restricted free agent from summertime. So, that may play a factor into it as well. I know Jeremy loves San Antonio. He's talked about it. He talked about it, after the Lakers game with some reporters, including ESPN's Michael Wright, about how much he loves San Antonio. This is his home. He talked about how, growing up, he moved around a lot, that this is the longest he's ever been in one city. And he loves San Antonio. He famously, took a dig at Houston.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's Jeremy. He loves San Antonio. He loves the city. He loves the fans. So he wants to stay, but it depends on this is a situation that they were going to get into. I knew they were going to start getting into, as far as the young players, once their rookie contracts start coming up, Wemby, Sohan, Wemby, Castle, Harper, eventually these guys are going to have to get paid. They deserve to get bigger salaries, once they finish their rookie contract. So eventually it was going to come down to, sort of who they keep and who they can't keep money-wise. So I don't know if that's going to factor into it or not. But to me, I don't see why you would trade an asset like Jeremy. Like, there's no reason for them to trade him. Like, hey, because right now their rotation is pretty well set, or the roster is pretty well set. So if you trade for someone else, and then you're going to run into another situation where, where is that guy going to play? Where we're going to get him his minutes. To me, I think you need to allow this team to sort of gel and develop. They've had so many injuries, so many different rotations. So to me, even as well as they're playing, they still haven't reached their full potential.
Yeah, you're right.
And the other thing is, Jeremy's, he's shown that if you're going to keep him on the bench or keep him off the bench, that he's still going to play hard, still going to play well. So, that's a great piece to have on your roster. So, I don't people are saying like, oh, they have to trade Jeremy. They don't have to trade him. Like, to me, it doesn't make sense. People said, oh, they have to trade Keldon, and look at what Keldon's developed. People said, oh, you got to trade Devin. Look at the way Devin's playing. So I would think that the Spurs are going to keep Jeremy, but who knows? Again, I think the contract's going to play into it.
Yeah, you're right. I agree with you. I don't think they're going to trade Sohan just to trade him because he's not playing, and that's why we're going to trade him. No, I don't think that's the reason why. And the only way they deal him is if there's a good deal that that can help improve the team, maybe this season, maybe like a shooter, or even the short term. Maybe a couple of draft picks they can use in the offseason. But the point is no, I don't see the Spurs trading just to trade. Historically, they don't do that unless it's a situation where it's agreed upon. And even, then even like players get waived. Remember the LaMarcus Aldridge thing? They agreed to waive him, so stuff like that. But nevertheless, no, I don't see him, like priority number one, we got to get rid of Sohan. No, that's not the way the Spurs operate. But you bring up a good point, the financial situation. He will be entering restricted free agency this offseason. That could be the Spurs' long-term play there. See what the market dictates. Is he going to be offered something reasonable that they can match? Then I think they'll do it. They'll match it. If it was something outrageous, no, I don't think they'll do it. And I think I think he might be the first domino, and I agree with you, in the Spurs watching their finances because of the apron and all that stuff. That's killing management right now as far as building dynasties, building teams that can be together for long stretches. And the part of me also thinks, too, that, man, if they do deal him, you got Carter Bryant waiting in the wings, man. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, the Spurs obviously have a great roster. That's sort of what I'm talking about. I mean, if they do trade Jeremy for, this other player, player X, I'll just say player X, where is player X going to get his minutes, depending on who they receive back in return.
Right.
Because I think the sort of the fantasy GMs are saying, Sohan and Kelly Olynyk and maybe a pick for someone. I don't know who that would be, but again, you've got a lot of players playing good minutes right now. Julian, Carter Bryant starting to come around. Jeremy's done well in his minutes. Obviously Cornette, and then you have the possible sixth man of the year and Victor Wembanyama.
Good one.
But I mean, right now the rotation is doing really well. So I don't know. Once they're fully healthy, I don't know where that player X would get his minutes. So, I just don't. Again, I just don't. It doesn't make sense to trade just to trade.
Yeah.
Especially with the chemistry right now. I mean, everyone's getting along so well. They all love being together. Jeremy's, even though he hasn't been playing, he's still a part of the huddles. He's part of the post game. He's enjoying every minute of it. So that's another thing. If you trade for someone who knows how they're going to fit in with this roster,
right? Yeah, I ultimately don't think they deal him at the trade deadline. I think his future will be in question this offseason. Again, the restricted free agency. I mean, I think that's smart. Let the market dictate what the Spurs should pay or not, or underpay, or maybe they'll go a little over. We shall see. And also, too, he needs to have a discussion with himself. Is he willing to be on a squad that's deep and maybe, his services will be limited? That's something moving forward because, as mentioned, Carter Bryant's there waiting in the wings. Perhaps earn more minutes next season. I think the Spurs are really invested in him. They like what they see out of the young kid. So it's even for him just a decision for his career. Does he think he can flourish in San Antonio with the roster the way it is and how deep it is? Or maybe he could be useful elsewhere. So that's something that they got to check out too. Hey, before we hit the break, look at some of the numbers that Sohan has been doing. Not too shabby. So you look at the last two games, he's averaging about 13 minutes a game, giving you 4 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, and not even a turnover, just a 0.5 a turnover. So I get it, limited time, limited chances to turn the ball over, but nevertheless, when he does have those touches, he's not coughing it up. He's giving you about 2 defensive rebounds, 2 offensive rebounds. So good on Sohan. And you look at overall, just even last month in December when he started playing a little bit more, he got 8 games in December and put up 3.4 points per game, 3.1 rebounds. And he gave you, again, just under 1 turnover, 0.6. So, the usual thing is still there. Yes, his shooting's not good, but as we just saw, or I just read for y'all right now, he's giving you a little bit of everything. And it goes back to what Mitch said, that Mitch says, don't look at the box score when it comes to Sohan. Look at his overall impact, even outside what the numbers say. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Jeremy's one of those glue guys, a guy that's going to go out there and just kind of, you don't have to run plays for him. He'll do the follow-up dunks. Cut to the basket. And the other thing is, he's him and Victor, when they're on the court together.
Oh, yeah.
Great synergy. Like, it seems like almost every time they're on the court together, either Jeremy finds Victor for an alley-oop or Victor, Jeremy throws an alley-oop pass to Victor or Victor throws an alley-oop pass to Jeremy. They seem to mesh well together. And the other thing is, about Jeremy, I think people also need to sort of realize, how much he's sort of done and given to the team. I mean, that point guard experiment. He obviously wasn't comfortable with it, but he played his butt off. He tried to make it work, and it just didn't quite work out. But he took on that role, because he was asked it, and he did. Considering he'd never been a point guard, and then all of a sudden it'd be a starting point guard, in the NBA, the first time he ever a point guard, he did his best. He did as well as he could. So he's a guy that you give him his marching orders, he's going to do whatever you ask of him. So, I think that's the other thing. I think sort of people need to keep in mind. He's the kind of guy that you want on your team. The kind of the guy that is going to give you. Like you had talked about earlier, bringing energy, or maybe just going out there and guarding the top player and giving up fouls, or those kind of things. He's just a guy that helps push you over the hump.
Yeah, and hopefully he stays long term in San Antonio. I think look, it's happening already. You just expect his name to pop up whenever there's a trade rumor up until the deadline. His name is going to be popping up left and right. So brace yourself for that. But yeah, I think the decision for his future in San Antonio won't be made till after the season. If I had to put some money on that, he is Raul Dominguez of the AP Sports. He's on X at Dominguez5. Follow him ASAP. Coming up next, Keldon Johnson is going to get a little love. Should we just give him the 6th man of the award right now? Should we just do that? I mean, seriously, he has a strong case for that. Let's talk about that coming up next right here on Locked On Spurs.
This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. As we roll into the new year, there's a lot of pressure to chase new you. But sometimes it isn't about reinventing yourself. It's about feeling a little less weighed down. Therapy can help you understand what's been holding you back, giving you an outside perspective on your emotions, motivations, and relationships. And that's why BetterHelp can be such a helpful place to start. They got therapists that are fully licensed in the U.S. and work under a strict code of conduct. They help match you with a therapist based on your needs and preferences, so you're not doing all the legwork on your own. You're pretty much, if the match isn't a great fit, you can switch to another therapist from their tailored recommendations at any time. BetterHelp has served over 5 million people with more than 30,000 therapists, and live sessions average about a 4.9 out of 5 ratings across more than 1.7 million client reviews. BetterHelp makes it easy to get matched online with a qualified therapist. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/NBA. That's betterhelp.com/NBA. That's betterhelp.com/NBA.
I get a kick out of that bumper there with the Miles Morales' variants. There's one I just saw right now during the break. Looks like he's dressed as Carnage, like he got Carnage-ized, and he's looking at Miles Morales, and he's like going just like, no, like that. We are back, everybody, right here on Locked On Spurs, joined by Raul Dominguez of the AP Sports. He's on X at Dominguez5. Now we're going to shift our focus to Keldon Johnson. My goodness, has he found his role in San Antonio? Has he embraced that 6-man role to a T? And I know it's way too early. Yeah, things could happen, but as of now, in my opinion, Raul, he's the front leader. I mean, he's the leader of the pack when it comes to sixth man of the year. I mean, what he's doing off the bench, from the scoring to the rebounding to the 3-point shooting to providing that spark, that energy, setting the tone. I remember that game in Los Angeles, the second game in LA, where he just came out blazing, and they asked him, "What'd you do?" He goes, "I am the leader. I had to set the tone," and I did that. Everything overall, what he's doing off the bench. I mean, if he's not the front runner, I mean, he's definitely top 3 candidate right now for that 6-man year. Huh? What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's done just a phenomenal job. He comes in. We talked about it earlier, sort of, he bringing that energy off the bench, and he's always had a lot of energy. It just seems like he's a lot more focused now. And in the past, the Spurs have sort of wanted him to be more of a kind of almost like a leading scorer or a leading player out there. Now he can still be that, but he doesn't have to be that. Like, he can just sort of play his game and not force anything. And he's really grown into his role. He's sort of not accepted, but he's embracing his role. Coming off the bench, with the 3-point shots, with the defense, with the energy, with the rebounding. I mean, he's you can tell he's just having a lot of fun, especially with the wins, which obviously add to it. But I think he's just more excited about just sort of how this group's coming together. I mean, because I know that Harrison's older than Keldon, but to me, Keldon's the leader. He's been there the longest. He's played under Pop for a long time. So to me, Keldon's the leader of this team.
Yeah, he is, and he's making an impact again, not necessarily in the starting role, off the bench. That's what makes it so just awesome to see. He didn't, complain about it when he was asked to go to a bench role. He embraced it. He didn't make waves. He didn't, "Oh, well, get me out of here. I'm done. I'm not starting material. I don't need to be here." He didn't pull any of that kind of bleep on the Spurs. He just said, "All right, that's what I got to do. That's what I got to do." And Mitch Johnson said it too. He said he has to be up there. He has to be among the top, people and players involved in the running for the 6-man of the year award. So that leads us to what Vegas says. So we looked at FanDuel right now, at the FanDuel Vegas odds right now. And as of this recording, he's not among the top, players. He is actually, I take it back. Sorry, my mistake. Yeah, he is number 3 in the FanDuel Vegas odds. They have him winning that award at a plus 650. Look who's ahead of him, though. Naz Reid is a favorite right now at plus 350 to win it. Jaime Jaquez out of Miami, he's a plus 400. And then it goes to Keldon Johnson at a plus 650. I mean, Keldon is playing so good. He's ahead of guys like Anthony Black, Colin Gillespie, who's been playing good for Phoenix, AJ Mitchell, who was considered a strong candidate earlier this season. Even Dylan Harper is getting some love for the 6-man of the year award-winning odds. He's at a plus 2,000, so likely not going to win it. But that's some tough competition there. If we just keep it at Naz Reid, Jaime Jaquez, and then Keldon. Then right behind Keldon is Anthony Black with Orlando. Yeah, this race could be very interesting, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a gambler. I'm not encouraging anyone to gamble, but it'd be smart money to maybe lay down some a bet on Keldon. The other thing I think that's helping that would help Keldon is the fact that the Spurs are doing so well. Typically,
oh yeah, for sure.
Typically, a lot of the awards, a lot of the All-Star nods and such, All NBA, those things go more so to obviously more so to a team that has a winning record or that does well. It's difficult for a really good player on a bad team to get those awards. So I think that's going to help Keldon out a lot. The Spurs and their turnaround, and the other good thing is they're playing a lot more on national TV, sort of getting more of that spotlight. So more fans, more media are getting a chance to see Keldon a little bit more regularly than they have in the past, and the Spurs in general, but Keldon especially. So I would the way he's playing, the way the Spurs are playing, I think to me, I think, he should be, the favorite right now.
Yeah, I'm with you there. From his, I mean, we don't talk about how on the elite level his shooting is right now. It's just efficient, just so efficient. He shoots well from the field, even just inside the 3-point line. That's where he really excels. He's a reliable scorer off the bench. He's the calming, as crazy as Keldon can be in a good way. He's actually a calming force for the team when he comes into the game. He settles things down. So you got the obviously he's still that bulldozer going to the lane, which is good. That's what wins, but he's effective at that. He's embraced the roles. We mentioned it. And I think the biggest thing for me why he should be leading it is that he really embraces that team first mentality, from his energy, positive attitude. Seriously, everybody, Keldon is positive win or loss. Win big, he's the same character. Win bad, he's the same person. That's what I like about him. And not a bad. Can you imagine this? Imagine Keldon and how he would feel knowing if he does win it, that he just followed the footsteps of Manu Ginobili. I believe Manu was the last six-man of the award winner for the Spurs in Spurs history, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. That was a weird thing about the big three and their era. Absolute crime. The Tim Duncan never won Defensive Player of the Year. I think Pop was Coach of the Year maybe 2 or 3 times. I think it was.
That's it. Yeah.
Not a lot of All-Star nods. I think maybe once or twice, maybe Spurs had 2 guys. I think 1 year with Duncan and Manu, and I think 1 year with Duncan and Parker, I think. But for some reason, the Spurs didn't get a lot of love, honors-wise. But I think with this group sort of being as exciting as dynamic as they are, and then having Victor as well, I think you'll see, them get a little bit more love for All-Stars and postseason honors.
Yeah, I think it'll mean so much for Keldon if he does win it. I really do. I think it'll be a testament to what he's been doing. Because he went from kind of the quasi face of the franchise pre-Victor. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
He was the guy. Getting invited to Team USA, playing on the Olympic team. There was a moment, or was there if I remember correctly, he could have made the All-Star squad. I think there was a thing with Jeremy Green and he was going to play or not. I think I remember that correctly. Just a spark plug for this Spurs team. Just woof. Yeah. And just to drop his ego, man. Just to drop his ego.
Yeah, I was trying to look up the stats as far as I was curious what I don't know if it has the plus minus. I was trying to see what Keldon's plus minus is for the season. I can't find it, but
I'll get it for you. I'll get it for you right now. But
just as far as the impact he has, obviously, 6-man of the year, that obviously has a dynamic impact on your team, and I think Keldon's done that. I think last year one of the problems, even before Victor was hurt, but especially afterwards, was once Victor's off the court, what do you have? And Keldon could only do so much, because of sort of the roster and the injuries and such last year. But I think even with them having a deeper bench, I think his play and sort of his leadership for that second squad has really had a huge impact. And there's not that drop off defensively or offensively.
For sure.
When Victor's goes to the bench, when Victor's starting. So, and I think that has a lot to do with Keldon, just sort of the energy he brings, the excitement, sort of, making sure that everyone's locked in defensively. The other thing, I think Keldon's underrated as far as defensively. He's not,
for sure, yeah, for sure.
He's a guy that's going to put a body on someone and sort of make them uncomfortable. So he's kind of doing it all, and I think the best part for him and for the Spurs, is just the energy and the joy that he brings. They're having fun out there. So, and obviously he's a huge part of it. I don't know how many. I'm sure fans always hear stories or hear little tidbits about when the media's in the back. Keldon's screaming, or I'm sure during some of the interviews that play on NBA TV or what have you. someone's at the podium and you hear yell. You know, if you ever hear it,
Yep, that's Keldon.
That's Keldon. So
Yeah.
I know. Then he's picking the music. You know, he's got a great
Miley Cyrus.
Yeah, and then I can't remember. It was with that 1,000 Miles, I think, which is
Oh yes.
yeah. So it's music that you wouldn't expect Keldon to listen to, but
Yeah.
He's sort of brought this energy and this to the team, and he's really helped boost the chemistry as well.
Raul, did I read this right?
Mhm.
Does he have a plus 95 this season?
That's what I was looking at. I knew that he had a high.
Holy, I have it right here. This is correct.
Hmm.
According to StatMuse, Keldon Johnson has a plus minus. Read it here word for word. A plus 95 this season. That's insane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like I said, I mean, he's obviously if you want to do well, if a team wants to do well, obviously their bench has to be good. If you think about the great Spurs teams, especially the 2014. I mean, 2014 bench to me was almost as good, if not or just almost not as good as the starting five. You had Manu, you had Thiago, you had Boris, you had Patty Mills, and that was a big boost for them. I think this bench could is starting to develop into that. Where it's almost another weapon for the team.
I'm still baffled by this. Yeah, I'm looking at the numbers again. It is a plus 95.
Mm-hmm.
That is his total. Because according to StatMuse, what they do is they take all the plus minuses from every single game,
mm-hmm.
and then they give it an average, and then they give it a total, and the total is plus 95. Cool smokes, man!
Yeah, that's
incredible. Just give him the award now. Just NBA, just give it to him now. Seriously. But no, I really do hope. I want him to win it so bad. I hope so bad. Again, going from the face of the franchise, quasi face of the franchise, to going through the Wembanyama, era, and then they taking another step back and then another step back. He's taking so many steps back from his role, making way for Devin, then making way for Wemby, then making way for Castle, making way for Barnes. Keldon has a legit argument that he should be starting. But no, he's good. And look, he's getting money. He's getting the money time play. He's out there when it counts. He is the veteran, or he likes to say he's the big brother. He doesn't like to use the word veteran. But yeah, Keldon Johnson, let's hope you get that award. He is Raul Dominguez of the AP Sports. He has a plus 1 billion here on Locked On Spurs. Raul, what's going on with the AP Sports?
Well, just kind of Spurs are NBA schedule is so odd,
Yeah, it is.
Spurs were gone for seemed like seemed like it was all of December they were gone.
Mm-hmm.
Come back for a game, and then they're back on the road, and then they're back. And then they're back on the road. So just kind of waiting for the Spurs to get back and see how that's going. So like I said, eventually, with all these road games, eventually the Spurs are obviously going to have a good stretch of home games. So the fact that they're doing so well right now, having so many games on the road and so many back-to-backs and such, is also a good sign. I think Spurs fans should be really excited the fact that they've been doing so well right now on the road.
Yeah, and think about this too. They haven't even touched the rodeo road trip yet, and there's it's gonna have to even out, right? You would figure like the back end of the season there'll probably be a lot of home games then.
Yeah. So I mean, that's always gonna be a good thing for them. Just sort of making sure they lock down a top 4 seed, because I think home court's going to be really big for this young roster, and they love to play for the Spurs fans, and you see the energy that builds there. The Lakers game was incredible, just the noise level. So being a top 4 seed is going to be big for this team.
Absolutely. Again, Raul, thank you for closing out this week right here on Locked On Spurs. We appreciate it as always. Again, Raul Dominguez right there, following on X at Dominguez Cinco on X. Yeah. And everybody else, thank y'all for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Be sure to follow us wherever you get your favorite podcasts: iTunes, Spotify, Campfire Plus app, YouTube. The list goes on and on. Seriously, pick a platform. We are there. We'll be back Monday as the Spurs regular season continues. Hey, by the way, while I got your attention here, everybody, make sure to go check out the NBA Everyday Your Club. So what is that? So this is kind of a new thing here on the Locked On Podcast Network. So you can check out Locked On Spurs ad free. There's a Discord access, members only access, and so much more. What you want to do is you want to go to lockedonpodcast.com/everydayyourclub. Do that right now. For more information, sign up ASAP. So for Raul Dominguez, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.